Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We are bringing you a completely spoiler-free movie review today. We haven't done one of those in a while. The last one or two that we've done have either been spoilery or a combination. So, if you haven't seen the movie, don't worry. Today we're talking about Love, Simon, which I was very excited about because this is a book-to-movie adaptation, and I read the book recently, and I loved it. So I was very excited to see what they did with the movie.
I did not read the book, but I was very excited for this movie as well. After seeing the trailer, I was just very interested, and then Brittany actually shared with me more, about the synopsis of it, and it got me more interested, because it's, like, a mystery.
Yeah, so for those of you who may not know what this movie is about, it is essentially focusing on a guy in high school, and he is closeted, and he is secretly emailing back and forth with another, what we assume to be closeted, gay person, I think, at his school. And so, it's kind of his coming out story and this relationship that blooms with it.
And they obviously talk to each other anonymously, so he doesn't know who it is, so he's trying to figure out who this person is in the school as he interacts with his friends and people who aren't his friends, trying to figure out who this person is.
Well, and as he's coming to terms with his own identity and if and when he wants to share it.
So let's jump right in and talk about Simon. He is the lead in this movie. I thought the actor who portrayed him did a really good job. And overall, his character is a very interesting one.
I think he was very likable. I think they casted very well for this based off of the book. I think pretty much everybody was casted very well from the book. But yeah, I think the actor who played Simon was fantastic. I think he portrayed him very well. Overall, our thoughts on this movie are that it's great and you should definitely go see it.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is due to the actor who played Simon's performance. He brings a lot of emotion to the table, but he also feels like a real person in this movie, which is a strength as most of the characters feel like real people. They're not just caricatures. Everybody
has a lot of depth and range as well, so they're not one-dimensional characters. There's very few, if any, in this movie that are one-dimensional. Maybe some background characters that you don't get to know as well, but pretty much all of the forefront cast is very multi-dimensional and have backstories and get fleshed out.
Some of my favorite characters in this movie are Simon's parents, played by Jennifer Garner, and Josh Duhamel. Is that how you say his last name? We'll see. But I thought they both did a really good job, and they bring a lot of fun to the table, and the relationship with Simon's very touching, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was a very good way of portraying a family system when something like this is going on and they're experiencing, you know, someone in their family dealing with this, and it was just really well done in general. Like we said, all the characters are very multi-dimensional, and that includes Simon's core group of friends. Everybody's very different. Everybody has their own personalities, their own motivations, their own desires, and there is drama that goes along in this. The thing I loved most about this movie when it's portraying teenage drama is all of it felt very real and tangible. It didn't feel blown out of proportion. It didn't seem like this crazy over-the-top teen drama. Like, it felt like real problems that teenagers would have, and they dealt with it mostly like adults, from my opinion. Like, it wasn't this crazy hormonal teenage response.
Yeah, when people were hurt or upset, it was not blown out of proportion. It was, wow, you betrayed my trust, or wow, you did something that really hurt me, and so I'm not going to talk to you. Like, we're not friends right now.
Yeah, so that was really refreshing to see in a teenage-focused movie.
I felt like the plot of this movie was really good. I think it walked a good balance between, like, cheesiness and predictability, like the classic version of this type of story, and also bringing something new to the table and not always being fully expected.
This movie is a very enjoyable and touching film to watch. Like, it's a good time while dealing with some very serious subjects, and also without it being ham-fisted, which I think was very important for this subject matter. It never got crazy out of control, and it never felt like contrite, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt like the tone was really well done in this movie, and the fact that, like, it did a good balance between, there are lots of scenes where you're going to laugh, and then scenes where you're going to, like, cry. Like, I had a little tear going, and too many movies nowadays, I feel like, have to do the Marvel effect, where they have to undercut the emotional scenes with the jokes to not be too dark, and I felt like this film doesn't do that. It definitely goes, hey, here's the time to really feel these characters out, and here's the time to kind of laugh and enjoy life with them.
The style of this film was something I also wasn't expecting, although it fits the book perfectly. This movie is set in modern day, however, it has a strong feel of 80s teenage movies and also a little bit of 90s in there as well. But it's very like John Hughes-esque, but with a modern twist. And I thought that was such an interesting choice for the story, but also so perfect.
Yeah, it has some flavors of, like, Say Anything or, like, 10 Things I Hate About You, that's kind of style, and the funky text that pops up on screen at the beginning.
In fact, we see most of our movies at Alamo Drafthouse, and if you don't have an Alamo Drafthouse near you or haven't been to one, they always have these curated pre-shows instead of, like, you know, the traditional, like, commercials before the previews start. They always have these curated things that relate to whatever movie you're seeing, and this one had a ton of, like, old 80s movies and a lot of LGBT important movies, things like that, which that I understood, but then it had things like Say Anything that were featured and whatnot, and I was like, but this movie is in modern times. I don't get it. Like, it was one of those pre-shows where I was like, this pre-show is just dumb. And then we started watching the movie, and I was like, oh, that makes sense now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think the most powerful part of this movie is the message that it carries and the representation for a gay person's story who is coming out and also struggling with his identity, but also the way it's portrayed is very interesting to me because in a lot of ways he's comfortable with his identity. He's just not comfortable with people knowing about it. And that struggle of what is he really making excuses about versus what, you know, what are actual valid feelings for him. And it felt like a very real valid struggle, and him coming out to like his parents, there was a lot of emotion behind it. And you could really, it felt like a realistic situation. And I think I've heard and seen stories from people that I know that happen similar to that.
We obviously do not have the perspective of people who have been through this experience. However, it has been very encouraging to see many people in the LGBT community relate to this movie and praise this movie. So I feel very comfortable saying that it's a very good representation for that community based on the responses from that community.
Yeah, and I think as we've seen with movies like Black Panther, representation is so important, and just seeing a film like that, with people of your generation and age and a movie coming out in your time with that kind of representation, it's so important and gives people support. And I've already seen tons of like posts on Twitter and stuff of people feeling supported by this movie or encouraged to like come out to their parents, things like that. It's cool to see that effect that a movie can have.
Absolutely, and I think it's important also to mention that this movie is not going to represent everybody's experience with coming out. No one single situation or movie can. There have been some criticisms of it because it is a little bit of a bright, shiny, happy portrayal, and sometimes that is the case, and sometimes it's not, and I think it's just important to know that going into it, that it's not going to represent everybody's experience, but it may represent some. Overall, we really loved this movie. I think it was very touching and emotional. Everybody clapped at the end, which is always my favorite thing as a theater experience. I think this movie is for absolutely everyone. I don't think there is a single group of people, unless you're just a horrible, bigoted person. If so, get off of our channel. Don't be here. But
all them out.
Besides that, I think everybody would love this movie, whether you are part of that community or not. I think over half of our theater was gay couples, which was just awesome, and a lot of older gentlemen as well, which surprised me, and I hope that this can be representative and helpful for people who are in all generations and all aspects, and I just think it's for everybody, and you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, we really love this movie, but we also want to know what you guys thought of it. Let us know down in the comment section below if you enjoyed this movie or didn't enjoy it and why, and if you liked this video, click the like button. It really helps us out. And subscribe if you like our content. We have a ton of different stuff going on the channel. We've been doing gaming streams. We've been trying to bring you more videos. We have a ton of content already on there. And if you want to see some of those videos, you guys can click right over there, and we will see you next time.